recurring revenue, how to sell partner plans, and so on. And most importantly, is she will probably attest to it, her involvement in the community and how she's been able to drive business herself to the organization. So we're thrilled to have Terry on board with us. As Terry goes through this presentation, she'll stop and ask questions. If anybody has questions, please feel free to ask Terry. We generated a lot of great questions at the last call last week. And again, hopefully there might be a couple of you that have invited your customer advocates to participate on this particular call. Terry has also presented to our members in the past, most recently in conjunction with Clearfly, on kind of the best practices on how to sell SIP trunking to our base. So with that, again, thank you so much, Terry. We appreciate the time, and you can take it from here.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel honored to make this presentation. So I just want all of you to know, I am sitting in a parking lot in the middle of the rain, borrowing a restaurant's bandwidth so I can actually look at the PowerPoint. So if it looks like we're kind of off a little bit, it's because we're trying to do this remotely. So anyway, a little bit of background on myself is for 25 years, I was an advocate for children. I was in the field of education where I obtained my master's and doctorate in administration. So for 25 years, I was out there being an advocate for children and training teachers and working in the field of education. After 25 years, I felt it was a time to retire, and my husband worked for a local interconnect company called Northwest Telecom for almost 25 years. So I was always very familiar with the, interconnect, working with connectivity, phone systems, and all of that. And so when I retired, Northwest Telecom asked me to come and help them. So I did. I worked a lot with connectivity, learned about that, and also did some dispatching and helping with equipment. So a few years later, Matt DeRay purchased Northwest Telecom, and of course, everything that I was doing, he already had people in his company doing this, and he offered me the job of a customer advocate, and I very clearly told him I am not a salesman, and if that's what I was going to do, I didn't want the job. But he assured me that what I would be doing is being an advocate for businesses, and I actually took what Matt said to the point where I am now, where I truly believe that I am a customer advocate for all of the customers that I serve in Western Montana. The area that I cover, probably 50% of my customers are actually in the Bozeman area. The corporate office is in Billings, which is the eastern half of the state, and then I work in the western half. So I take care of the Bozeman, Missoula, Great Falls, Helena, and Kalispell area. So my average drive each day, if I go out of town, is about 3 hours. So I spend a lot of time on the road. So that's just a little bit of background about myself. The reason I think my position has been so successful is the fact that I actually use TAG's model. I went to the first training. Matter of fact, I've gone to 2 customer advocate trainings, and every time I go, I learn a little bit. So with the TAG model, what I feel I do is I am the connection between the Connect group and the customer. What I always do is I always try to keep in contact with all of my customers, and I think the most important thing I do is actually set up appointments with them. And the way that I find by setting up appointments is that I actually use 3 different models that I used in my customer advocate training. The first one is actually using invoices. What I do is all the customers that are mine, I actually have the invoices sent to me. So when I get an invoice, I actually call the customer and let them know that I have this invoice. I'd just like to review it with them. So when I go there, I try to build a rapport with them, kind of build my reputation. I always tell the customer that I work for them, but Matt DeRay in the Connect group pays my salary. So I think that's really good. I'm also really involved in the community, so a lot of people know me. I think the biggest asset that I have is my husband is also a technician for the Connect group. and he's one of those technicians that have been taking care of customers for over 28 years. So that just kind of helps my reputation, the fact that I'm involved in the community and the fact that my husband's a technician. So when I go out on this first appointment, I always tell them that, I have this invoice here. I kind of have some ideas. I explained about the partner program. And I tell them one thing in the partner program is actually we help them do audits of their connectivity. And that's one of the strengths that I have is I actually explain to them when they're looking at phone bills, I can see if there are issues with it, if there is easier ways to actually use their connectivity for savings and that kind of stuff. So at that first appointment, I try to gather the connectivity. And then I'm going to talk about presenting to SIP-based in a couple minutes. Always when I set expectations for the customer is I tell them that my main goal for them is to be profitable and have a competitive edge. That's one of our mission statements at the Connect group. So I always set those expectations that that's my goal. And so that, I think, really helps. I think finding the right niche, mine is connectivity. Everybody has a strength. Another person might be strength in looking at their data network. Another person might have strength in working with phone systems. Mine's connectivity. So that's where I think, finding the right niche. And the other thing is that I love about being a customer advocate is the recurring revenue. From the partner programs and from the connectivity and from the Macs and Bird Dogs that I give to salesmen, it really does make a difference in my monthly salary. So that's kind of just an intro. So what I want to talk about and go into more depth is the tag model. So I've already talked about the first one is actually using invoices. So what we do is every single invoice comes across my desk, I contact the customer. And in the beginning, when I first started selling partner programs, I got a lot of them. And anymore, because I have so many people on partners, I don't get that many invoices. So what I'm doing now, and I guess it kind of follows the tag model, once you have your customers as partners, you have to maintain them. So the way I maintain them is I actually do the yearly connectivity audit. I keep in touch with them. And the other thing that I do is I also keep them notified of current technology. So they know you're one person. I think it's the training, the tag training was customer advocates want to be the person the customers go to. If they need data, if they need phones, if they need connectivity, you want to be that person. So what I try to do is contact my customer at least once a quarter. Do I do it 100% of the time? No. Sometimes I get in major projects and I get a little bit behind. But I really try to stay in touch with all my partners and even my non-partners. I think that's very, very important. So making those quarterly calls. So invoices, quarterly calls. And the next one I think for me has been very beneficial is I call it the technician tag-along. I follow the technician. What I find is all of our customers love the technician. They're the ones that really can answer all the questions. They really don't want to deal with salespeople. So I make it really clear in developing my relationship with my customers is that I'm the advocate. I am not sales. And everyone teases me because I keep saying I'm not a salesman, even though I've been so successful. So the technician tag-along, what's so nice is they introduce me to the customer. They'll talk to them. And what I'm finding right now is many of our phone systems are getting quite old. And what the technicians do is they say, hey, your equipment's getting older, we're going to maintain it, you're our partner. But when you think you might want to head towards, looking at something. So they kind of lay the way for me as a customer advocate to come in. It's a natural transition. And then what I do is I talk with them and say, yeah, probably going to need some new equipment, but let's look at things in connectivity that will actually help you save a little bit of money. You know, I don't say it's going to pay for the whole system, but new technology, you know, works different with newer technology. For example, analog handoff, you know, CO lines compared to native SIP, a lot less expensive native SIP. And so the technician lately has been great. So what I see myself going through, the first 3 years I was signing new partners and working on that. What I'm finding now that I'm in like my third renewal of partner programs, I'm finding I've developed such a good relationship with the customers, they're now ready to buy something. And this year alone, I just sold a couple today, over 35 phone systems have been previous partners that have now upgraded, which I think is great. So that technician tag along, I think, is one of the most important. So it helps me be the transition to the salesperson. Okay. Any questions before I go on to connectivity builds?
I have a question. Are you actually selling the phone system, or are you passing it to them?
Small ones. If it's under a certain amount, you know, it's like 3 or 4 phones, those I do. Otherwise, I pass them on to a salesman. What Matt has done in our state, he's paired a salesman and a customer advocate together. So what I do is, you know, if it's over a certain, if it's just like a little 3-phone system, 3 or 4, I'll just do it myself. But anything above, I have a partner, and we work together in actually selling the phone system. Does that answer
Thank you.
the question? Okay.
Yes, it did. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Other questions for Terry at this point? Okay, Terry, keep going.
Okay, so one of the things that we offer in our phone partner program, I think we're a little bit different than CAG. What we do in our phone partner program, we charge 0.15 of the value of the phone system to come up with it. If it's traveling, for example, if it's in Great Falls, it's 0.17, and that's what it is each month. So what's so nice when I go out and sell this is I let my customers know the partner program covers everything to do with the phone system except for, number 1, cabling, and number 2, additional equipment. But it does cover the labor if they add additional equipment. So one of the other aspects of the partner program is doing a yearly audit of their phone bills. And it's so interesting, when I first started out in doing this, I couldn't believe how many of my customers had lines, like old modem lines and actual lines out there that they weren't using. So when I first started collecting the connectivity bill, I could very quickly look at the bill, identify how many lines they had, what type of internet speed. And what I did was, in asking them, saying, do you know how many lines you have? And some customers that I developed a relationship would be happy to give me the bill. But if I ran into customers that did not want to give me the bill, I said, no. I said, you don't have to. I said, let's just sit down and review the bill with them. And so I actually said, according to this, you have 6 lines. And they said, no, we only have 3 lines. I said, okay. And, you know, did you used to have modem lines? And so working with them and pointing things out in the bill. The other thing is, for example, USBI is very notorious for actually putting, or I call slamming phone bills. So where they're paying $25, $26 for a service, they didn't even request. I've never figured out how they get on their bills, but they do. So you're developing that relationship by looking at those bills. So I think the best practice in obtaining bills is developing a relationship. If you're still working on developing a relationship, just kind of look at them. And I think it would be real important if customer advocates really learned how to interpret phone bills. I know up here in Montana, we have such companies as CenturyLink, Integra, Clearfly, and Cutthroat. Those are the companies that I've learned about their bills. I've actually gone to them and said, explain your bills to me. And so it really does help, and it develops that reputation with the customer that you actually understand the phone bills. So I think that's real important, is somehow getting the phone bills and actually putting together information for them. So the first time I go to the customer, I actually get copies of the phone bills, and then I don't tell them why. I just say, hey, it's a free service that we offer, is to do an audit. And in the beginning, I used to do my own audits, but it just became very overwhelming because I had so many customers and to deal with. So we developed a partnership, and I think it is a tag partner. So if any of you are interested, is I started working with Kelly at Northwest Datacom. And so what I do is I just send her the bills and say, Kelly, I need a quote. These are some of the options I would like, how many voice channels, how many analog, what speed of internet I'm working at. And so I send that to her. And then when she sends back to me, is a form. It's very similar to this. It's not exactly. Sometimes she's got 2 options. Sometimes she's got 4 options, depending on where you are. So if you look at the next one, can you turn to the next page on the presentation? Right. So what I always do is I show them what they're currently paying and what the options are. With this one, there was just 2. They happened to take this off the Clearfly presentation I did. But this is pretty standard what I find in working with Clearfly. 80% of the time, I do go with Clearfly. And a couple of the reasons why I do go with Clearfly, number one is the customer service. It's some of the best. The other day, we had an outage. Everybody has an outage. Clearfly had one. The 2 vice presidents actually came to my meeting in Bozeman from billing to actually talk to the customer. So that, to me, is customer service. And when I need something, I call them, and they always respond. So Clearfly is my main SIP provider that I do work with. So if you look on this, what I have is I actually identify, the voice channel, how much long distance, and, of course, the actual internet. And then what I do is what they currently pay and what I'm proposing. So on this one, you'll see there was $253.94. I take each case individually. Sometimes, again, I've talked to the customer. I know what the customer wants. Sometimes they are ready for an upgrade for their phone system. Sometimes they're just ready for a partner program if they have current equipment. So you have to take every customer. So with this customer, they actually needed to upgrade their phone system. So their new phone system ended up being $275 on a CTAP. The other thing is CTAP really helps us sell new equipment because they're used to the partner program. And so what happens with the CTAP is we're just adding on the equipment. And hopefully sometimes we find connectivity, so it makes a big difference. It shows them they're not going to spend any more than they're currently spending. So that's how I find that I sell either partner programs or I sell new CTAPs. And some customers that want to pay cash, I don't encourage them. What I then try to do is have them, they want to pay cash, great, but then I put them on a partner program for the phone system. Because I tell them I don't want them to have any surprises when a voicemail breaks or a phone breaks. I make it to where they know what their budget is and they follow through. So using this connectivity savings makes a difference in either selling partner programs or helping my team partner, which is a salesman, actually sell new phone systems. So, questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What manufacturers do you represent?
I have 3. A majority, Northwest Telecom was really strong into Lodavis. And so we have a majority of Adobe. Of course, that has now been discontinued. And now what we're selling is Samsung and Baldus. The way we do the partner program on the Samsung is very similar to the Adobe. And I find going from the Adobe over to the Samsung has been a very easy transition because they're very similar. They just have a lot more features which people like. For example, voicemail to email. Then with the Zoltis, what we do, if we do sell the Zoltis, we actually include in the sales price the licensing and the warranty. So the partner program, actually, then we don't have to worry about that additional licensing and all of that. So Samsung is a little bit easier, but Zoltis, we've come up with this program that really seems to work well.
So do you always sell a 5-year Zoltis maintenance agreement?
Yes.
Hardware?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hardware and software. Yeah.
Yep.
And tell me another question I thought of is, what did you do when you were transitioning those customers who had previously paid cash, who may have been someone you picked up after not having a lot of contact? How did you price their agreement?
What I did was I took the actual, if we went out and purchased that equipment, what was the actual original purchase price of the equipment?
Right.
And then I multiplied it, if it's in town, times 0.15 to get my monthly, and then divided it by 12. So that's how I got the yearly, and then I divided into 12 months.
Okay. So you use the same figures that you do for new systems.
Yep. Now, there's certain systems, for example, with the Vodavi system, you know, we go clear black to DVXs and Mach 1s. Those we no longer cover. And most of those I have transitioned over to the Samsung. We are going to give the XTSC and the XTS of the Vodavi 2 more years. So the lifespan I always do from when it's discontinued, as long as we get support from the manufacturer, then we will actually sell those. That's why I'm telling people with the XTSs and the XTSCs that, you know, we only have about 2 more years. And so let's start to transition now. Because, you know, I talk about software upgrades, that they're not doing those anymore, and kind of bugs. For example, the VoIP cards, there's a bug in there in working with SIP. So we tell them that we're going to take care of them, but if we don't want these bugs to continue, we're going to have to transition over to a new system. And I've not had one customer not transition yet.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Hey, Terry, from a management perspective, how often do you get together with Matt to kind of strategize or understand what you've got going on?
We used to have, like, the customer advocates would get together, and then the sales team, and so there was never any communication. So about a year ago, what we did was we did the partnership. I guess it's been almost 2 years. We actually did the partnership. So what happens now, even though Matt is not in the city I'm at, Matt, my sales partner, and myself get together every Monday morning to just kind of talk about all my customers, which of my partner programs are about to end, do I have any leads, and then also the salesman, if he found something he found on a cold call, he has questions about connectivity or what I felt was the best. We always do that on Monday morning.
Terry, in terms of some of the things you mentioned, kind of I think, you know, as we talk about outside salespeople, you know, we talk a lot about community involvement and bird dogs and things of that nature, but, you know, you've done a tremendous amount of that as a customer advocate. Do you want to just speak to that for a second?
Yeah. I have 4 children who were very, very involved in sports. So, you know, a lot of times people think community involvement involves being one of the organizations like the Lions Club or something like that. That really wasn't my strength. my strength was in being involved in children. And so all through my children being part of that community, I did mine more towards the sports, you know, being on the softball board, the cross-country board, that kind of stuff. And so once my kids are all grown, I continued to be involved in adult softball, and I've been the president of that league for about 15 years now. So I do on that. I also serve on the city Parks and Recreation Board. I did that for about 16 years, the county open land board. So I tried to do it with my interest instead of just being involved in the group. So I think you have to find your niche in the community and actually be a part of that. So I think that's real important.
Sounds good. Other questions for Terry? Any customer advocates that are on the line have questions for Terry?
Yeah, I have a great presentation, Terry. Real quick, I'd like to ask, you had mentioned that you touch base with your customers once a quarter. Roughly how many customers do you currently support today?
About 300. And I probably have more than that, but they're like my non-partners. And so what happens with those, they're kind of like mass customers. We used to have 2 customer advocates in Bozeman because we have about 500 to 600 customers. And so what happens is customers are actually assigned my name. I contact them either through email, you know, voicemail, or talk to them in person. And then what Matt does, if one of his customers, which are all non-partners, if they, because it used to be the previous customer advocates, they now changed it to Matt's name. Matt will send me the invoices, and then I will actually follow through. So anybody that gets an invoice in the western half of Montana, I do make a personal contact with them.
So potentially you could have more than the 300 if you count all those non-partners as well.
Yes, that is true.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Sherry, it's Mark. How are you?
I'm good.
Question for you. Great presentation, by the way. On the managed services and data, do you discuss that at all? How does that discussion open up or evolve?
Yeah. What I'm finding is I'm getting a few more. I'll be honest with you, 90% of my partners are phone, and 10% is data. But the way I got my data partners is just letting my customers know, you know, we do take care of managed services, and so if you ever need anything, you know, let me know. And so, for example, one of my customers that we're now on, we started off, this is the 4th phone system they've had with my husband, or previously Northwest, now Connect. So they're now into Adultus. So what happened was they were moving to a new building, and the owner was so used to contacting me that he said, you know, he started talking to us about surveillance. We did the whole surveillance for this new compound. And then he just got so used to calling to us, he actually had us take over his managed services. And so that right there is a very large customer. So that's what I'm finding is by developing this relationship, I'm getting more into the managed services. For example, today I picked up one more data partner. I sold them a small phone system, you know, and a small data partner. But now they wanted one person to call. And so that makes a difference. And this afternoon, another phone partner, they wanted to talk to me about managed services. So I'm going to drive to Helena just when I'm done with this call and actually meet with them. So I think it's not something that happens right away, but it happens through developing that relationship.
Sure, makes perfect sense. All right, Sherry, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
You had mentioned that this is going to be recorded. How soon and where would we find it? I really think my advocates need to hear this.
Yeah, so hopefully hopefully we had success in recording everything, we'll post it on YouTube, and probably, I would think, latest sometime tomorrow. So we'll blast it out, we'll blast the link out to the group, so then that way you can review it with your customer advocates, Andy.
And I keep bugging Tag about this, so I'm going to put this out. I think that would be a great opportunity one of these years is to actually have the customer advocates, kind of like a customer advocate 2 class, where we could all get together. So even though people think I've been so successful, I still have so much to learn. And hopefully one of these days we'll be able to have a small conference for customer advocates where we can all get together and brainstorm and, build those relationships as customer advocates also.
Nope, excellent, and that's an excellent suggestion. And one of the things that Larry just launched, and I'll let him know, he has been conducting a monthly conference call between customer advocates. He's got about, I can't remember the last count, but once a month he comes in at about 6 in the morning, and like I said, he conducts a conference call with all the customer advocates across the country to kind of share best practices. Kind of go back to the basics and things like that. So I'll let him know if you would be interested in that, Terry, or if anybody else. Please just email Larry, and I know that those advocates that are participatory in there are getting a lot out of it. So please feel free to participate in that manner. So great questions, everybody. Okay, perfect. Well, we'll get this information out to everyone. Great suggestion, Terry. Great. Thank you again for your time. Again, wonderful job. Want to mention one last thing before we all go. If Steve Futrell, you're on board with us? Okay, Steve might have jumped off. Okay, I was just going to see if Steve wanted to mention anything regarding the Sunday night dinner for the Voyager team in San Diego. So again, he'll probably be communicating with you if he hasn't done so already. When you get to San Diego, Janet will have on your registration all the dinners and all that good stuff, locations, things of that nature. So with that, have a great week, everyone. And if there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Mark from Unitel will give you a call right back.
And please feel free to contact me anytime you need anything. I'm sure Brian and them have my email or my call, so please feel free to contact me anytime you need anything.
Thank you very much, Terry. I was very impressed.
Very nice job.
Great day, everyone.
Great job, Terry. Again, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Are you still there?